like to read these many verses because I know our attention span. And sometimes if you read too many verses, we get lost along the way. But it's such a beautiful story, friends. Please, I want to read chapter 32. Okay, please follow along with me as I read. When the people saw that Moses was so long in coming down from the mountain, they gathered around Aaron and they said, "Come, make us gods who will go before us, for as for this fellow," and I want you to see this. I want you to see the disrespect in the hearts of the children of Israel toward Moses. He was God's man, God's anointed. God used him to bring the plagues through Egypt. He was God's chosen, God's anointed, God's deliverer. God used him to bring the children of Israel out of Egypt. And so now they're in the Sinai Peninsula before Mount Sinai. And God tells Moses to come up onto Mount Sinai because he's going to give him the Ten Commandments. So he's up there for a while. Maybe a month. He's up there a long time in the presence of the Lord, and the people are tired of waiting. And they say to Aaron, "Make us gods who will go before us, because as for this fellow Moses." Do you see that? Do you see what I see? The disrespect in the hearts of these people toward Moses, who brought us out of Egypt. We don't know what's happened to him. So Aaron answered them. He says, "Well, take off the gold earrings your wives, your sons, your daughters you're wearing, and bring them to me." So all the people, they took off their earrings and they brought them to Aaron. And he took what they had handed him, and he made it into an idol cast in the shape of a calf. Now, who did that? Aaron did that. Okay? Fashioning it with a tool. And then he said, "These are your gods, O Israel, who brought you out of Egypt." Now, this is Aaron's work. When Aaron saw this, Aaron built an altar in front of the calf and announced, "Tomorrow there will be a festival to the Lord." Now, where are you? You just saw everything that God did, and now you're going to make a golden calf and put an altar before it and say, "These are your gods of Israel who brought you out of Egypt." What planet are you on? And he says, and not only that, you're going to connect that golden calf with the Lord and say, "Well, tomorrow is going to be a festival to the Lord." So the next day the people rose early, they sacrificed a burnt offering, and they presented fellowship offerings. And afterward they sat down to eat and drink. They got up to indulge in revelry. I think the King James says something to the effect they got up to play. Everybody please say with me, revelry. Revelry. Not reveille, something they play in the morning. Revelry. Revelry it's festive, playful activity with those who are drunk, who indulge in alcohol. They are dancing around this golden calf, and I think the King James says either even naked. That's what the Southern preacher calls it, naked. They were naked. Then the Lord said to Moses, "You better get down there, because your people," isn't that something? God calls them, these are your people. He says, "Your people who you brought out of Egypt have become corrupt. They have been quick to turn away from what I commanded them, and have made for themselves an idol cast in the shape of a calf. And they have bowed down to it and sacrificed to it, and have said, 'These are are your gods, O Israel, who brought you up out of Egypt. I have seen these people, the Lord said to Moses. They are a stiff-necked people. Now leave me alone so that my anger may burn against them, and I may destroy them, and I will make you into a great nation. Here's your chance. I think Moses had it up to here with the children of Israel. God was right. This is a stiff-necked group. They disrespected Moses. They disrespected God. And God says, step out of the way. Let me clean house. I will destroy them. Your problem. These people that are causing you grief and stress, I will destroy them. But you want to know something? I'll make a great nation out of you. I wonder how many pastors that have been put in that situation where God says, step out of the way, let me get him. I wonder how many pastors would have said, oh yeah, do it. Get him, Lord. But watch what happens here. But Moses, he sought the favor of the Lord his God. He said, oh Lord, he said, why should your anger burn against your people, whom you brought out of Egypt with a great power and a mighty hand? Why should these Egyptians say it was an evil intent that he brought them out to kill them in the mountains and to wipe them off the face of the earth? Do you see what's happening here? Moses, please see this. Moses is counseling God. Do you see that? Or am I imagining that? Moses is saying to God, God, your idea, this is not a good idea. Because if you take these people out in the wilderness and kill them, all the other nations of the world were going to say, he couldn't do it. God could not bring them into the promised land. And he only brought them out of Egypt with an evil intent. Moses is counseling God. He's interceding for the people. Oh Lord, please, turn from thy fierce anger. Relent. Do not bring this disaster upon your people. Remember your servants Abraham, Isaac, Israel, to whom you swore by an oath. I'll make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky, and I'll give your descendants all this land I promised them. It'll be their inheritance forever. Then the Lord relented. The Lord relented and did not bring on his people the disaster he threatened. Moses turned and he went down the mountainside with the 2 tablets of the testimony in his hands. And they were inscribed on both sides, front and back. And the tablets were the work of God. The writing was with the writing of God engraved on the tablets. With God's own finger he inscribed those commandments on those tablets. When Joshua heard the noise, because Joshua was with Moses, when Joshua heard the noise of the people shouting, he said to Moses, there is sound of war in the camp. This is the sound of victory. It's not the sound of defeat. It is the sound of singing I hear. Oh, then Moses replied, it's not the sound of victory. It's not the sound of defeat. It's the sound of singing I hear. When Moses approached the camp, he saw the calf dancing. His anger burned, and he threw the tablets out of his hands, breaking them to pieces at the foot of the mountain. And he took the calf that they had made, and he burned it in fire, and he took it, he ground it to powder, and he scattered it upon the water, and he made the Israelites drink it. He said to Aaron, what did these people do to you, that you led them into such great sin? Don't be angry, please, my Lord, Aaron answered. You know how prone these people are to evil. They said gods will go before us. As for this fellow Moses who brought us out of Egypt, we don't know what happened to him. So I told them, now watch this, because this is funny. I told them, whoever has any gold, jewelry, take it off. Then they gave me the gold, and I threw it in this fire, and boop, I popped this calf. Now tell me, how funny is that? Really? You expect me to buy that? Seriously. Moses saw that the people were running wild and that Aaron had led them to get out of control and so become a laughingstock of their enemies. So he stood at the entrance of the camp and he said, now, in our English Bibles, there's a few more words that were put in here, but I tell you what, you look at it in the Hebrew, and it's 3 words. Moses, he stood at the entrance to the camp, and he said 3 words. He said, "Who for Jehovah?" 3 words. Whoever's for the Lord, come to me. And all the Levites rallied to him. Then he said to them, this is what the Lord, the God of Israel says. Each man strap a sword on his side, go back and forth through the camp, from one end to the other. And each killing his brother and friend and neighbor, the Levites did as Moses commanded. And that day there were about 3,000 of the people that died. And then Moses said, you have been apart, or you have been set apart to the Lord today, for you are against your own sons and brothers, and he has blessed you this day. The next day Moses said to the people, you have committed a great sin. But now I will go back up to the Lord, perhaps I can make atonement for your sin. So Moses, he went back to the Lord and said, oh, what a great sin these people have committed. That they have made themselves gods of gold. But now, please forgive their sin. Moses is interceding for the children of Israel. Please forgive their sin. Now look at this. But if not, then blot me out of the book that you've written. Moses says to God, Lord, either forgive their sin, please. And if you're not going to do it, then blot me out of the book that you've written. Now you know how connected that God and Moses was. There's no way that was going to happen. But that's the deal that Moses is making with God. God, either forgive their sin, please, or blot me out of your book. And the Lord replied to Moses, whoever has sinned against me, I will blot out of my book. Now go, lead the people to the place I spoke of, and my angel will go before thee. However, when the time comes for me to punish, I will punish them for their sin. That stands out to me like a neon sign. I have it underlined in red. For when the time comes for me to punish, I will punish them for their sin. You know, friends, sometimes God's judgment is delayed. Think about this. I said, sometimes God's judgment is delayed with people and nations. Sometimes something happens and you think, boy, where's the judgment of God on that person or that situation? Where, God, come on now. You see what's happening here. Why don't you do something? Sometimes God's judgment is delayed, friends. Moses said, when the time comes for me to punish, I will punish them for their sin. And the Lord struck the people with a plague because of what they did with the calf that Aaron had made. Now please, just a few more verses. Come down with me, please, to chapter 34. Remember the title of my message today, I'll see you in the morning. So the Lord said to Moses, he said, chisel out the 2 stone tablets like the first ones and I will write on them, and I will write on them the words that were on the first tablets, which you wrote. Isn't that something? Moses broke the 10 Commandments even before he gave them. That were supposed to be for a moral guide for the community, for the children of Israel. And look at verse 2. He says, and by the way, be ready in the morning. I want you to have this done by morning. I will see you in the morning. And then come up to Mount Sinai, present yourself to me there on top of the mountain, and no one is to come with you or be seen anywhere on the mountain. Not even the flocks and herds may graze upon this mountain. So Moses, he chiseled out the 2 stone tablets, like the first ones. They went up to Mount Sinai early in the morning, as the Lord had commanded, and he carried the 2 stone tablets in his hands. Now let me show you something here. I'd like to show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is Egypt in this area right here. Okay, they start out roughly right around this area right here. So as they made their travels, somewhere along here, they crossed the Red Sea. Okay, they kind of, this is the Sinai, as you can see, the Sinai Peninsula right here. And so they made their way down here, and this is the traditional view of where Mount Sinai or Mount Horeb was, in this area right here in the Sinai Peninsula. There's some other scholars that believe that perhaps Mount Sinai might have been over here in the land of Midian. But the traditional view is right here in the Sinai Peninsula, Mount Horeb, Mount Sinai. As you can see how they wandered around in the wilderness because of their disobedience to God. They were all over the place. Came down here, over here, all the way around here. Mount Nebo. And actually, Mount Nebo, across from the Jordan River, this is where God had Moses come up there, and he showed him the promised land. But because of Moses' disobedience to God, he didn't even get to enter into the promised land. Now, if they would have walked in obedience to God and did what was right and pleasing in the eyes of the Lord, they could have went right here. They could have traveled along the Mediterranean Sea, come right up into the promised land. You know, friends, sin in our lives always takes us on a detour, doesn't it? Always takes us on it, gets us out of God's plan and His will for our life. And even the book of Proverbs says this: the path of the righteous is like the first light of dawn that shines brighter and brighter until the full light of day, when you're doing God's will in your life. But the way of the wicked is like deep darkness. The way of the wicked is hard. And so, let me show you. So we see that Mount Horeb, Mount Sinai is down here. And this is a picture today of Mount Sinai. Now, imagine this if you can. The children of Israel probably only saw maybe this far, this much of Mount Sinai, because the Bible says that the glory of the Lord was on top of Mount Sinai. There was a thick cloud up here with flashes of lightning and thunder. They couldn't even see it, the top of Mount Sinai. Can you imagine when God told Moses, He said, meet me up here. And up here, there's this dark cloud with flashes of lightning and thunder, and God says, come up here with me. So they probably only saw maybe about that much of this mountain. Okay. Now here's what in this story, the things that really stand out to me. Point number 1. God has given us a job, and He's coming back. Just like Moses. God gave Moses a job to do, and He said, I'll see you in the morning. He's coming back, and He expects the job to be done. Well, friends, so it is with us. He told those early disciples, Jesus, before He ascended back to the Father, He says, go into all the world and share the good news of Jesus Christ. I heard one preacher say one time, you can't take the word go out of the word gospel. And sometime today, I think in some churches, we've made the go into y'all come. Now, we put signs up around town, we put some advertisements in the newspaper, but God still says, go. Now, like Pastor Dave shared in Sunday school this morning, it's the love of Christ that compels us. Remember that verse? And church, God has put it in my heart to evangelize this community in this area. And I have about 2 more. I was down Riley Road, not last Saturday, but the Saturday before, and stopped over Patty's house and visited with her for a while. All the way down past the tracks and going up the hill, knocking on every door, passing out brochures for our church. And listen, it's just not about our church, because inside every one of those brochures is a gospel message and a salvation prayer. And there's a phone number on there. It's mine. It says, call me for spiritual guidance and help. Church, God has enabled me to go from all the way to the top of Hadley Road, all the way down here, every side street in between, all the way, this road over here by the old gun store, all the way to by Warner Road. I have been down this road to the tracks, every road in between. I have about 2 more streets I want to cover. I want to go all the way out to by that road that goes out to, I think it's the road after the tracks that goes out to that arch where Werner's is. I want to hit that. And there's a couple more side roads I want to hit over here. He says, go. God has planted us right here, right now, strategically in this area to be a lighthouse for Jesus Christ. He says, evangelize this area. And as I am doing that, I'll tell you, there's a couple things that are going through my mind. You know how the devil works. I'll get up on some of these porches to knock on the door, and the devil will tell me in my mind, somebody's going to shoot you on this porch. I just imagine this gunshot coming right through the door. Or he tells me, and I had a woman one time that opened up her door and she sicked her dog on me. She said, I can't be responsible. You're on my property. There's no sign saying no trespassing. She said, I can't be responsible what my dog will do. Fortunately, it was an old dog. It was an old dog. He tells me all the time, you're going to get bit by a dog. I did, not last Saturday, but the Saturday before that when I was visiting with Patty. Your little dog bit me. Yeah, it was in the little...
Oh, the little black one.
Yeah, he was up on the chair, and I was like, look at he got my little finger.
Sorry.
That's okay. But you know what? When God calls you to evangelize, you have to tell yourself, listen, you can't kill me because I'm dead already. Did you catch that? We are dead to self and alive to Christ. You want to shoot me? You want to kill me? You can't kill me because I'm dead already to self and alive to Christ. We are called to go and evangelize and share the good news of Jesus Christ. So, we're involved. He's given us a job to do, and he's coming back. Friends, he wants, I like it when he says, I'm busy about my Father's business. Every one of us, whatever your ministry here is at the church, whether it's singing or, helping out with the computer. Randy, you're irreplaceable. You're priceless. I don't know of anybody else here that wants to do that job or that ministry. Playing the piano and helping us with worship, or teaching the Sunday school, or sending out cards to those who've been missed or are sick, or when we have a visitor, handing them a visitor's card, or teaching a Wednesday Bible study, or bringing cakes when it's somebody's birthday, or doing the finances of the church. How many want that job? Don, you're irreplaceable. Or helping, serving on the board and guiding the church, or whatever, even if it's sitting friends by the door and passing out bulletins, or running whatever that is. What is that?
Video camera.
Whatever you're doing for the Lord. involved in a great work here, dear friends. We are. These are the eternal souls of people that are hanging in the balance. We are involved in a great work here for Christ. Now, God always gives us a pattern. He told Moses in the Old Testament, he said, I want you to build me a tabernacle, a place of worship for my people. And he showed him the tabernacle in heaven, and he says, build it according to the pattern that I showed you. So you have the pattern of the tabernacle. God always gives us a pattern to follow, friends. Jesus, by his life, he showed us, he gave us a pattern how we ought to live our lives. The Apostle Paul said this, follow me as I follow Christ.